All right, so we are going to shoot sunrise and sunset from the exact same location. Literally, I'm going to make Kemper put his tripod in the exact same spot.
I picked a spot that I know I'll be able to go back to because there's this like tuft of grass right here that I think I'll be able to find again. There's actually tufts of grass all along here, but
Indeed.
This seems like a particularly unique tuft of grass.
It's special.
Golden hour is king in landscape photography. While there are always fantastic opportunities all day, the hours right around sunset and sunrise have the most dynamic color and light. However, what are the differences? Is one better than the other? Why might you choose to shoot one or the other or both at a location? That is what we are exploring today. The location of choice today is Dallas Divide, a pull-off on the road between Ouray and Telluride. We have shot many sunrises and sunsets from this location because it offers a fantastic panoramic view of the San Juan Range.
Sunset is pretty much actively happening. We delayed starting the video quite a bit. The idea is to show how shooting the same location, sunrise and sunset, is going to yield very different results. And hopefully we will yield very good but different results, is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. We've got just enough clouds out here to make it nice. Any less clouds, it would not be as nice.
So what's your setup, Kemper?
Now this is honestly the first real full day of landscape shooting that I've done with the Z9. So that's a pretty big deal. And so far, I mean, I love it. I mean, for a day like this, I love the form factor. I mean, it's like Nikon perfected.
Indeed. So Kemper is taking some Bangarang stills, which you'll be seeing very soon. I currently have one of my 7.4s shooting a scenic time lapse. And Tamron 17 to 28.
Set at what?
28, I believe, on the nose. And then on the other side, I have my S3. My plan is, starting now, is to shoot just a 4K clip of the sunset, nicely composed. And then we'll just post that and call it Snuffle Sunset, its own little video. Some nice music.
2 million views.
Heck yes. So that is now rolling, and I'm just not going to stop it for a long time and hope that that turns out nicely. Oh, look at the cloud like splitting above Snuffles.
Oh yeah, no, it's nice.
Unfortunately, we're losing the clouds at the last second. All right, I'm just going to let this stuff roll. Watch the sunset go.
Sunrise versus sunset. What are the differences? In a lot of ways, it seems like they should be pretty much the same. I mean, the sun is sinking down to the horizon or rising from the horizon, it should be the same. And There are some obvious differences. The first point is going to be of course, but at the same time, it's important for you to actually think about it, and especially when you're choosing a location and the time of day that you want. There's a variety of factors and differences that I've found over the years of shooting landscape photography. And this first point that I have, again, is super obvious, is front light versus backlight. So if you're shooting with the sunrise or sunset at your back, you're going to have front light on your subject matter. Or if it's the sunset or sunrise is either coming up or going down in front of you, then you'll have backlight on your subject. And this shot in Grand Teton National Park, or this location, Schwabacher Landing, is a great example of that. So here is the morning sun getting some fantastic front light on the Teton Range. And then here is the evening sunset getting some fantastic backlight. And so the only thing that's really being lit, other than some reflection in the water here, which really adds a foreground element that helps this particular image, but is the sky above, and then the mountains are darker, and as a result, more moody. So I think a lot of people, when you think sunrise, sunset, you want the sunlight hitting your subject matter. And certainly there's a lot of validity to that with the sun hitting the Grand here. It's a spotlit, it's a contrast, it's a beautiful, visceral thing. But this shot is more moody, more dramatic, and in some ways I really like that. And another element that you can get with backlight is that you can actually incorporate the sun itself into the composition, which is this sunset of the Mount of the Holy Cross is a great example of that, where we have the sun going down off to the right here, and it's actually and you're getting the rays, and it's actually creating this light source in the image. And so with that backlit, even though no direct light's hitting Mount of the Holy Cross here, having the light source in the image like that and creating the drama it's a really great thing. And I think there's a lot of times you might be looking to get an image with kind of getting this feel, and know your location, know where you're going, and understand if that's something that you really want. And kind of holding on this image with my next point is that sunsets can happen after thunderstorms, at least they do more often. It happens where you have a sunrise after a thunderstorm, it's pretty rare, versus afternoon thunderstorms and then having a sunset afterwards are extremely common, and they're kind of my favorite. So like this shot here is after a thunderstorm, and you have the clouds, and everything's a little wet and damp from that hard rain. I love that feel. Going back to this Teton shot, this thunderstorm was rolling out. It was literally pouring rain 15 minutes before we took this image, and we jumped out when it stopped and got this amazing sunset. I'll show you an example of the maroon bells here. This is the kind of clouds you can expect in the morning. These aren't thunderstorm clouds, they're not thunderheads, so it's more misty, and honestly, this shot's very moody, and you get the front light, so you get mood and front light in the shot. This was an amazing morning at the Maroon Bells, but you can see the clouds have they're not as aggressive as this. Or, to use a new example here, of Mount Moran here, after a thunderstorm, this is actually a couple days after this. There was a lot of thunderstorms on that trip to the Tetons. So this is a backlit, post-thunderstorm sunset shot, very happy with. And then here's actually the very next morning, we have a front lit, again, I would say it's a more uplifting, appealing, colorful sunrise shot here. Same location, literally my tripod was barely moved, but I zoomed in and shot this as a pano. This is a single shot. But yeah, you can get a feeling for front light versus backlight, but also I think, and in moving on to these ones with Mount Rainier that I want to talk about, is that the time of day kind of affects your mood and the way you're feeling when you're taking the photos, and that translates. So I find when at sunset, it's the end of the day, you know, you're a little tireder and the light is fading to dark. And I find myself, you know, when the way I edit and the way I feel when I'm shooting the shot to be, it's a little moodier, it's a little more melancholy. And I think this shot of Mount Rainier kind of encapsulates that, you know, it's colorful, but it's a little more melancholy versus same location, next morning, sunrise. You know, I wanted the glow coming in from the right. So, you know, I shot, this is actually a little after sunrise. The sun was coming in and the humidity is so high there that you kind of get this really good light filtering in that I love. But, you know, the feeling between these shots, even though with this particular image in Mount Rainier National Park, since I was shooting from the south facing north, you know, I don't have that same issue of, you know, front light versus backlight. Both are side light, but that my mood taking those shots translated to very different images. And so I think that that's going to be true, you know, kind of across the board as you're shooting sunrises and sunsets. So we're kind of wrap up this segment here, I'm going to go ahead and show you the sunset and sunrise shot I got on this particular trip down to the San Juans that you're watching in this video. This is the sunset. Now, the San Juans, similar to Mount Rainier back here, they're an interesting range in Colorado in that they run from east to west, west to east, whatever your preference is, instead of north to south. Most mountain ranges in the United States are north to south. So you're choosing front light or backlight, you know, if it's, you know, if the sun's setting and you're facing east, then you're gonna get front light and, you know, vice versa. In the San Juans, because the range, generally speaking, runs east to west, you get kind of side light. It has a very side light feeling to both. And I love it. It's part of the reason why we go down to the San Juan so often is because the light down there is incredible, as well as the super rugged peaks. And so, like, we have side light coming from the right for this sunset shot, and then the sunrise the next morning. We have the side light coming from the left. Now, the sunrise this time was nothing to write home about. It was kind of hazy, there was no clouds, and it had kind of warmed up overnight, so there was more moisture in the air, and it was not as nice of a experience as shooting this sunset, which was a beautiful sunset. We had the nice kind of high puffy clouds. It's maybe an example of like the sunset kind of being a nice peaceful end of the day. There was no thunderstorm. Of course, we're shooting in March, so there's not thunderstorms. But yeah, so this is a location where like you'd want to shoot both because you're kind of going to the well twice. You're getting great side light on both times. And, you know, side light is in some ways my favorite more than, you know, the direct from the sun coming behind you. It's very spotlight. I feel like it can kind of wash out a scene pretty quick. And then behind, then you're not getting any light on your direct light on your subject at all. So you're totally dependent on the sky. The side light is the best. Well, it can be. I'm not, you know, you can always get cool things. And I want to kind of close here with this shot of the maroon bells, because this is a sunset shot, but it was not a great sunset for color, right? It was cloudy, but because we lingered after sunset, and that's something that you often do. I find when you're shooting a sunrise, you know, you tend to get there shortly before sunrise because you got up in the morning, you had to wake yourself up, and then you get there and you're kind of getting the camera on the tripod and getting all set up, and then you kind of like, okay, the sun's coming, and then it comes, and that's the event, and then you are ready to go get coffee. Like, I find that across the board. For sunset, I tend to want to linger, and I tend to get maybe a little more creative. And this is a good example of that, where I shot this long exposure of these clouds, and the light filtering down from the clouds kind of gave me great light on these trees in the foreground. And this is honestly one of my favorite shots I've taken at the Maroon Bells. I've taken them a lot and will continue to because it's an amazing photographic spot. And, you know, I think that kind of lingering creativity that you can have at sunset because of it being at the end of the day, this is a great example of that. So yeah, those are kind of some ways that sunrises and sunsets differ and things you might want to think about when you're shooting at one part of the day versus the other.
So I planned well for this multi-day trip. I currently am working with 11% battery split between 2 batteries. This one currently has 5. Kemper found the exact same bush. I think it was that bush.
It's like a tuft of grass.
It's a very small bush.
You're getting your B-roll shots of the bush.
Yes. It's really good. And he's shooting the same angle he did last night. I've got my time lapse up over here. I've got my real-time sunrise cam over there. They have a lot more battery than this one does. So we're gonna be stretching the S3 to the max, the battery here. So as you can tell, the sun's over there and not over there.
There's no cloud. This is not a great sunrise scenario because there's no clouds on these mountains, and there's clouds sitting on the horizon over there, which actually block the sun rays. Maybe. I don't know.
Or filtrate them, make them look nice. Who knows?
Humidity's high. It's 45 degrees, but feels like 20. So it's head feels like 20.
Feels like 32.
Yeah. So that could create some nice color. Humidity's higher.
Well, Kemper and myself have pretty much finished shooting sunrise. I think Kemper may be looking to get one more shot.
I'm just gonna let the sun get a little higher. It's not been a absolutely stunning sunrise. It's been good, but
I'm on my 3rd full day of shooting, and most of my camera's batteries are dead. So right now I'm sitting at 5% on this one. But for Black Canyon of the Gunnison later, got 100% on this one, so 1 battery left.
1 battery, that should be enough.
I've really planned it out. But we'll probably be in Black Canyon for not super long because we got to get back in. Yeah. We are going to get brunch, though.
It's good. It's breakfast. It's not brunch. It's early enough in the morning. It's breakfast.
But brunch just sounds better, though.
It doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I do love me some brunch.
And are we even going to get lunch? That's the real question.
Yeah, well, probably. I don't know.
What did we learn? We learned that sunrise and sunset are different and beautiful in their own unique way. And every sunrise and every sunset is unique, just as unique as every person and every photographer that photographs them.